The second way to prove triangles congruent is to use side, angle, side. Now what happens in side, angle, side is if we have two triangles, and between those two triangles we know we have a pair of congruent sides and another pair of congruent sides, and the included angle between those sides is congruent, then it actually does not matter how long this third side is, because it's going to be the same between both triangles. If we have side, angle, side, that's enough information to prove that we have two congruent triangles. Now again, after these triangles have been proved congruent, all of the remaining parts will be congruent. So the missing side will be congruent, and the two remaining angles will be congruent to each other. Let's use side, angle, side in a proof. In this proof, we have two givens, and we need to prove that triangle WZY is congruent to triangle YXW. So I need to prove that these two triangles are congruent to each other with these two givens. Well, I know automatically by the way that these two triangles are drawn, they share a side. So automatically, I know that WY is congruent to WY by the reflexive property. That gives me a pair of congruent sides. So I need to figure out another pair of congruent sides and a pair of congruent angles to use side, angle, side. Well, if I look at this second given right here, I'm told that WZ is congruent to XY. That's my second pair of congruent sides. Now what I really want is I want this included angle and this included angle to be congruent to each other. If you notice, this angle is between my congruent sides, and this angle right here is between my congruent sides. So I'm going to look at my first given. WZ is parallel to XY. Now here's the trick for this proof. Parallel lines do not mean that the lines are congruent. The reason that these lines are congruent is because I'm given that. These parallel lines actually tell me about angles. And the angles that are congruent, because these lines are parallel, are the angles created by this Z. The angles created by this Z are this angle right here and this angle right here. Now these two angles are alternate interior angles, and they're alternate interior angles between parallel lines, so they're congruent by the alternate interior angles theorem. Because these two lines are parallel, angle, well, I can't just name this angle W, I need to use three letters. ZWY is congruent to angle, again I'm going to use three letters to name this, XYW. That gives me a pair of congruent angles that are included between my congruent sides, and that's enough information to write my proof. So what you need to do in your lifeboat is to write the proof that proves these two triangles congruent to each other.